It was one of those serene Sunday mornings where the sunlight slipped gently through the half-closed blinds, painting delicate golden stripes across the tiles of the kitchen floor. Sarah and I sat at the table for breakfast, following a ritual we'd kept for many years. She with her steaming coffee, thumbing through her phone, and me with my own mug, quietly pretending the slow-building strain in our marriage wasn't there. Without any warning, she lifted her gaze, a mischievous smirk playing on her lips, and said, "You know, my ex was bigger than you." The statement struck like a sudden blow, direct, unexpected, and impossible to brush aside. I could have flushed with shame, snapped in fury, or tossed back a sarcastic quip, but I opted for serenity instead. I placed my fork carefully on the plate, eased back in my chair just a fraction, and let a subtle smile touch my face, allowing the quiet to stretch long enough that she could feel the shift in the atmosphere. At first, her smirk held firm. She was waiting for predictable reaction, embarrassment, stammering, or clumsy retaliation wrapped in forced laughter. But I remained still, silent, giving her space to absorb that her comment hadn't provoked the response she'd anticipated. I saw the tiny adjustment in her posture, her fingertips now idly circling the rim of her cup, her shoulders drawing in ever so slightly. The self-assurance in her expression wavered, just briefly. My refusal to react impulsively began to disturb her. She counted on an automatic defensive outburst, yet here I was, simply watching patient, letting her sit with the full gravity of her words. At last I spoke, my tone even controlled, carrying an almost soft quality. "Is that something you tell yourself to feel better?" I asked, or just to make me feel small. Her smile locked in place, rigid, her eyes widened noticeably, and for the first time that morning, uncertainty flickered across her face. I leaned in a little closer, never breaking eye contact. "Funny," I went on, "I've been thinking about your ex, too. I hope he treats you as well as I have all these years. If he does, you're lucky." There was no heat in my voice, no resentment, just steady, intentional honesty, reflecting back the disregard she'd attempted to pass off as humor. The chuckle she'd expected to lighten, everything caught somewhere her throat and died. The teasing grin she'd worn slipped away entirely. What she'd meant as a light jab had reversed course, landing squarely on her instead. The kitchen, so peaceful in familiar moments before, now carried a palpable weight, alive with intensity that required no shouting. She tried to pull back, murmuring, "I was just joking." I allowed those words to drift unfinished between us, hollow and unconvincing. My continued silence, matched with unshaken poise, carried far more force than any heated debate could have mustered. In that instant, she grasped that words tossed out casually, even under guise of playfulness, could meet a quiet strength she hadn't anticipated. The breakfast table, once reserved for effortless back and forth and gentle ribbing, had transformed into an unexpected arena where a deeper truth was taught, one she would carry with her. I raised my coffee to my lips and took a slow, purposeful sip, demonstrating that my equilibrium remained perfectly intact. She fidgeted in her seat, her gaze darting aside with a hint of nervousness, suddenly aware that she'd misjudged not just my tolerance, but my capacity to answer with calm precision and clarity. Her effort to belittle me had collapsed entirely, and a faint trace of alarm in her eyes showed the first fractures in the armor of her confidence. In the days that followed, Sarah navigated our interactions with noticeable care. The offhand remarks she used to fling so freely vanished. Even her smiles appeared guarded, tempered. The message had clearly taken root. Serenity held more power than escalation, and a measured reply could dismantle pretense without ever lifting a tone. Every glance she set my way held a subtle wariness now, a quiet acknowledgement that the equilibrium in our marriage had tilted in a new direction. A week later, the undercurrent lingered. During dinner, she steered clear of any teasing whatsoever, her expression revealing traces of ongoing discomfort. I carried on exactly as before, sipping my wine, keeping conversation easy and light, yet always anchored in that same steady, rooted presence that silently recalled the events of that morning. It had moved beyond mere embarrassment. It had become a matter of mutual respect. She recognized that her earlier remark had stepped over an invisible line, and my deliberate response had redrawn the boundaries between us. As months unfolded, our connection gradually transformed. Playful comments grew more considerate. Teasing became more measured. Sarah came to understand that not every joke was innocent, that particular boundaries deserved protection. My restraint authority served as an unspoken guide, demonstrating that composure could command respect far more convincingly than any display of temper ever could. She absorbed the insight without me ever raising my voice, and the resulting shift in her demeanor was unmistakable. Even today, when we reflect on minor conflicts or moments of lighthearted exchange, that particular Sunday morning remains vivid in memory. Occasionally she brings up herself, her voice tinged with a half-apologetic note, owning the misstep. The lesson embedded itself deeply. Underestimating my calm would never happen again. That intentional, composed reply had reshaped her perception of limits, dignity, and the true potency of quiet strength. What began as an offhand remark turned into a pivotal chapter in our marriage. Sarah discovered that casual mockery could rebound unexpectedly, that tranquility could quiet overconfidence, and that self-possession often resonated more powerfully than rage ever could. My answer hadn't merely wiped the smirk from her face that morning. It had fundamentally altered the way we connected, guaranteeing that respect, once reclaimed, would never again be treated carelessly.